what specifically, whether it be an event, a film, or an incident, that made you want to become a filmmaker of this new American cinema? Like for myself, just to start out, I wanted to produce films because the images that I saw, like I love horror movies, and I knew that in every horror movie I saw coming up, the black person dies first, right? So I knew, and also I grew up in the time of the John Hughes movie, where there was never a black person ever in that movie, and the one time they had a person of color, it was Long Duck Dong, and it was horrifying. You know what I mean? Like, so that was for me. I was like, oh, I better go do something about this. So that was for me. Can you start? I'll go with you first, Grace.
That's a great question. I think for me, it's always been, you know, you saw a lot of images, or maybe didn't see it, but I just didn't see any of Asians, you know, or Asian women, or if they were Asian women, they were prostitutes, or dragon ladies, or that kind of thing, or on MASH. I'm dating myself a little bit, but, and I think for me it was, but because I make both documentaries and fiction films, and because the worlds I travel in, you know, reflect what the world that I want to see. I think I wanted to make stories that reflected that world, and that sort of pleased me and pleased, you know, the stories that I wanted to tell. And you know, we can talk about the film that I just made, but it really comes down to my own desire to see myself reflected back.
So there's nothing inside, like an early memory where you were like, this is crazy, or like, this is great. It's just always a slow build of what?
I mean, there weren't, I mean, you mentioned John Hughes movies, yeah. I mean, I don't know if Long Duck Dawn was an inciting incident for me, but
it was for me.
I think, yeah. I think I was just kind of oblivious because that's just what was out there, you know? And I think just living life and sort of seeing the people around me is really where my inspiration comes from.
Excellent. How about you, Miss Ava?
I mean, the first thing that came to my head was a smart aleck answer when you said,
please.
No, I don't.
Oh, come on, I got nothing.
No. You just said what made you want to be a filmmaker in this new American cinema. I think it's just being born. Because, you know, it's just being new American. We'll dissect what that means, but I don't really understand it. I think for me, I was a publicist for other people's films. I was a caretaker for other people's stories. And some of them were brilliant and some of them weren't. And so part of it was at some point thinking I can make something as good as that. Or, you know, or why are they telling that story? Why are we not telling that story, than black women? Telling stories about us and not really being interested in us.
Right.
Not researching it, not kind of drilling down, not getting to the nuance. But I think that's all kind of intellectualizing it at this point, because at the moment that I started making it, it was just a desire to tell stories, period. So I can look back and try to dissect it, but it really came out of watching people make a lot of bad movies and thinking, I can do as well as best as that.
Excellent, excellent. How about you, Ryan?
For me, it was it wasn't one specific incident that well, actually for me it was one specific incident that made me want to become a filmmaker.
That's all right. That's all right.
Lying.
That's all right. We'll tell them you got it.
Yeah, but it was weird. It was weird for me. Like basically, I'm from the Bay Area. I came up in a weird situation where I had, you know, I had two parents. They didn't have any money. We lived in some crazy neighborhoods in the Bay, both in Oakland and in Richmond. I don't know if y'all familiar with those places. But what they always did was spend their money on sending me and my little brothers to private school. So I was kind of like a child of both worlds. Like when I was in private school, I was a poor kid with like messed up shoes. You know what I mean? I didn't fit in there. And then when I was in my neighborhood, I was the private school kid with a school uniform who talked different from everybody. I didn't fit in there. So what I would do in my spare time, when nobody wanted to hang out with me, was I would watch, you know, I would watch TVs, I would watch movies, I would read a lot of books. And I think that slow attrition, like that Grace was talking about, that you were talking about, of not seeing people that look like me and the stuff that I liked, was something that always kind of sat in my head, but none of that ever made me want to be a filmmaker, you know. I found a home playing football, you know, people accepted me through that, you know what I mean? And I got a scholarship, and when I went to school, I thought I was going to be a doctor, so I was doing like chemistry and
you're going to be a doctor?
I thought I was. I wasn't.
Okay,
cut out for it.
Okay, it's like we were missing on a great talent. We're like, wait, no. Don't leave us.
No, but I took a creative writing class, you know, and I had a teacher who coincidentally was a white lady in her 40s who read something that I wrote and said, you know, you should look into writing screenplays. And that's how I got into it, you know.
That's a beautiful story, right on.